All right, Dennis, everybody is starting to join us. Happy Memorial Day.
Yes, grateful for all of those serving through our military divisions, and thank you for all of the great efforts they put together to give us this great country and our ability to work around the globe. It's beautiful. It's a
Yeah,
beautiful day.
it really is. Let's see if I do that. How do I do closed captioning? Let's see. I want to be able to do that. Kate, maybe you can tell me if I'm doing something wrong. Enable auto transcription. Is that it? Let's try it.
That would be it. I believe you are.
All right, we did it. We did it.
You don't have to be too smart. Tell us where you're from, people. It's good to see everyone. All right, New York City's in the house. Good. Walter, Poconos. All right.
Oh, look at that.
Yeah.
Hey, Mr. Franks, we have a birthday to celebrate too. Does everybody on this team know that Mr. Franks had a birthday on, let's see, that was Saturday, wasn't it?
Oh, he's still recovering too. But thank you, Jim. I appreciate that. Yeah, absolutely.
Well, we love having you celebrate another one.
Oh, God, everyone's a gift. I will say that. But I will say this, from Vermont to Chicago to Arizona, look at this happening. We've got all of our great states and folks from around the world, actually. Yeah, thank you very much.
Yeah, fantastic. 39 again, Dennis. That's what they're saying.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I've tried to figure it out how I can make it right. So what I've decided to do, Jim, was instead of go with my age, I thought I'd go with the number of years that I known my wife. So I'm 42.
There you go. Well, you see, these are just smart moments to learn from.
Yeah.
Well, Dennis, I am excited for tonight. Why don't I share my screen and why don't we jump right in? Does that sound good?
Yeah, great idea. Wonderful topic tonight.
All right, so we're going to share right there, and I'm going to pull this over, and we will go right there. All right, perfect. Last week, Dennis, as we finished up, 6 weeks, so we're over halfway. We're in our 7th week right now. We asked everybody to do a little bit of homework, and we were talking to Donna Hill, and she said, some of you are real good at your homework, and she said, some of you aren't doing your homework. So Dennis and I are going to say, if you want to get the most out of this, we want you to do it. In the chat, let us know if you have your 3 tickets to International Convention. Mm-hmm. Let us know if you've called your teammates or hot prospects, because it is time for all of us to get together. Wouldn't you agree, Dennis? It's time to get that team together again.
We are countdown 12 weeks to International Convention, which will be a hybrid. We'll be in person for those that can make it. And for those that are unable to be there in person, we'll be also online. So we're excited about that.
Wow, I can't believe it's 12 weeks only until we get there. That's exciting. It's going to be a lot of fun. I think it's going to be a huge, International Convention is always a celebration, but I think this year we're going to have so much to celebrate. And for those of us that can be together, that will be a big celebration as well as we do this hybrid event.
Yeah, so you know what, Jim, it'd be great if anybody wants to show us or tell us that you've sold a ticket already this past week with those calls. It'd be great to see that, to celebrate with you. Oh, yeah, sold one. There you go, right there, Linda. Love it.
Way to go, Linda. That's great. Yeah, it is. And the ticket does work either way, Maureen. You're correct. It'll work either way to attend live or to use it online. So that'll be good. Oh, way to go, Paku.
Right.
Sold one. Excellent. All right. Well, this week, Dennis, we move into talking about earning commissions faster and the diagnostic test. And, before we run in and talk about the diagnostic test, let's talk about earning commissions faster a little bit. You and I, got to speak a little bit about this earlier, and I loved a lot of the input you had as we were talking about it. But, I think that's the goal for everybody, don't you?
Yes, absolutely. And I want everybody to understand this is the common cry from unfranchised owners around the world. It's never fast enough. But understand what we signed up for, a 2 to 3 year plan to get you to the point where you're earning that consistent supplemental income and to be able to improve and increase that. However, there are a few things you can certainly do to keep those commission checks coming in and happening more so than just in 2 to 3 years from when you start. It is something, Jim, that I have over the years start teaching earn while you learn in this principle here. But the first thing that I would like everyone from my first tip during this, I'd like to just throw this out, is creating urgency. When you start your unfranchised business or when you work with a partner, it's important that you create urgency. And I was talking to Jim earlier about, it's amazing. If you were going to make your 10 calls in 30 days, it would take you 30 days to make your 10 calls. But if you said I was going to make my 10 calls in the next 24 hours, you'll get it done in 24 hours, which will help you grow and ultimately earn commissions faster. What's on your thoughts?
It's so true. It's like going on a vacation, Dennis. If you have 2 weeks to prepare to leave, you'll take 2 weeks. If you're in that final day, you'll do as much the final day as you would in the 2 weeks before to get there. And that urgency, guys, has to become part of what, if we want to earn commissions faster, you have to have an urgency. You've got to have an urgency with your new people. You have to have an urgency with your prospects. You have to have an urgency with yourself. You can't just sort of let it slide along. It really can't. We've spent a lot of time, a lot of the things during Commissions Faster, we've been covering week after week on this, haven't we?
Oh man, absolutely. And when we go back and take a look at this, something that's going to help you earn your commissions faster starts with your why. Is it that number one most important thing that's going to take you to another level? And is it going to be your driver, something that happens internally to make it happen? And then we talked, of course, we're building out base 10 and utilizing the tools. Huge part of it.
I don't think there's anything bigger for urgency than getting customers right off the bat for a new person, or even an experienced person. With the accountability teams we're working with now, we set a goal the last 2 weeks of how many new customers could you generate, and it's fascinating when you put a time frame on it to see people get urgent about getting new It's not hard to get new customers, but sometimes we just sort of let it slide a little bit. So all of that goes together, and of course that includes the 7 strong, right, Dennis, and getting them paid.
Oh man, yeah. I mean, the whole thing is that customers will lead you to more customers who ultimately, if they love the products, are going to want to see the business behind the product. But getting those 3 on the right and 3 on the left that are each serving those 10 customers, that is the first taste very quickly that you can get done in 90 to 120 days of coming into the business if you're focused on that.
You said something great when we were preparing earlier today. You said we want to get people earning commissions faster, but we want to make sure everyone understands that we want you to earn it for the long term, not just a quick hit faster, but how do we do it quicker, but build it solid for the long term? And that really is the focus of being a master UFO, which is the focus of this 12-week training.
That you bring up a huge point there, because it's not about the $300 commission check. It's really about the $1,500 a week or $2,100 a week or $3,600 a week from each business center that you build out. But, when you say that, Jim, a lot of people look at our pay plan and look to maximize every penny of it all the time. And I find I lose time by tracking BV all the time. I just keep building, it'll add up. It accrues. How about you?
I think it was either you or JR used to say, people worry so much about a $300 check, they can't make $300,000. And I think that's part of the focus and remembering, like Ben Ginder, who didn't know how to track the volume, and he just kept building and building and building until the point he was earning, obviously, large weekly commission checks with the company.
You know, the other thing I thought you said was really eye-opening to me, and that was when you were talking about the ability to close. And a lot of people are showing the plan, but they aren't closing, or they're not getting to that. You want to talk a little bit more about that, because I thought that was highly impactful to earning commissions faster.
Yeah, we had a great call earlier on our Canadian accountability call, and one of the topics that came up was they were getting people through the part one, getting people to the part two, and they were even getting people in front of it, or generating a couple, but they generating customers, but they weren't able to pull the trigger, if you want to say. They weren't ready to get going. And I said, I know for me personally, throughout the years, I typically, when I brought people in the business, I brought them in 2 or 3 at a time. And the reason for that was because once I had a number of people that were considering the business, I would go back to the first one I talked to, and I would say, I know that you're, serious. You're bringing customers already. I've got a couple other people who are very serious, and it doesn't matter to me. This is the key thing you have to say to them. It doesn't matter to me. But if you get started, they're going to be on your team. If they get started, you're going to be on their team. Well, anyone who understands the plan should know that, hey, I'd rather get started now rather than wait. And that creates that urgency. And Dennis, I've always found it strange. People will do more because they're scared to lose something than they will to gain something sometimes.
Boy, you hit that one right on the head. In fact, when we were talking about retailing in base 10, we talked about the number one reason why people buy, and that was to avoid pain or avoid failure. The second was, of course, gain pleasure. But, in that conversation, there's a huge leveraging tool that I think, we've been promoting with the tickets, but that's the GMTSS. And, congratulations for each and every one of you that have attended those GMTSS online, in person. But the bottom line is, are your teammates attending? Are you bringing someone with you in the process? I found that was one way that you put gas on the fire when you were growing.
So true. And, there's a lot of local seminars coming up in the next 3-4 weeks as we sort of round out local seminar. I'll call it local seminar season, and we get ready for international convention. And a lot of us really need to say, how many people can I get to that event? And then how many people can I get to the big event? Because if you want to earn faster and you want to earn long-term, your people have to be trained, and they have to duplicate what you're doing, and they have to get to those events.
Right.
Go ahead, Dennis.
No, and remember, the price of the ticket is so small compared to the return. And you have to be able to sell the potential of that ticket and how that ticket can change a life.
The other thing we were talking about earlier was that consistency to earn your commissions faster. And, one of the things someone said today on a call I was on, they said, I used to move really fast, but then I'd get tired, I'd take a break, and then my team wouldn't do anything. And then I'd move really fast, I'd take a break, my team wouldn't do it. And they could never get that speed of momentum. And what we're trying to do with this 12 weeks right now is keep you engaged for 12 straight weeks. It's what accountability groups do. They keep you engaged for 12 straight weeks so that you can go fast. And if you do fall back a little, you don't slip that far because you're still having to report in, or you're still on something every week. So when we talk about doing the homework or being on the call every week, we're really proud you guys are doing this, because that's what's going to get you earning commissions faster, is that consistency.
And I want to build upon that word consistency, because it came into your closing of that person, because you had multiple people that were evaluating the business. A lot of the teammates out there are working on one person waiting. Did you notice Jim says when 2 or 3 of them are getting close, I move to this, letting them know whether you come in now or later, it's just a matter of whether they'll be part of your team or you'll be part of their team. and it really promotes that person getting in there. The other thing from a consistency standpoint, and this has been, I see this way too much. We keep working with the unfranchised owners that you want it more for them than they want it, instead of working with the go now unfranchised owner who is doing all the right things. You got to spend your time consistently with your go now unfranchised owners.
That's so perfect. 1 hour with somebody who really wants it and will take your 1 hour and put it into 10 is worth 10 of your hours with somebody who doesn't do anything when you leave. So understand that you want to earn commissions faster, exactly what Dennis said. Identify. I remember when I went to my first moving up seminar, I drew out my organization and Dennis said, okay, I want you to identify one person in this organization and I want you to call them and I want you to say, I'm going to be working with you. I'm going to help you build, because you got to identify somebody who's a go now, and you got to partner together and really build together, because that's what builds the strength of a strong organization.
Score. I love it. Some good points. I hope that you took some notes, team, because these were gems that will definitely help you earn faster along the way. What do you think, Jim? Do you think it's time to dive into the next segment?
Yeah, let's talk a little bit about the diagnostic test. And, Dennis, as we start talking about that, I remember going to moving up seminars, and that is what was taught for 2 days. It was 18 hours or whatever it was of training, and it all came from the diagnostic test. It's something I think has been forgotten by some people, but you and I know it's such an important tool to measure, monitor, and adjust.
Amen. And it's no different than you always going back to the blocking and tackling of the game of football, or the volley and the serve in tennis, the dribble, the pass, and the shot. I mean, all of these things are fundamentals, but we start looking at how well you're doing them and then how well your team is implementing what you're doing. And so, I mean, for me, the diagnostic was instrumental when JR was not available to help straighten me out. I went back to the diagnostic, as we did in the Moving Up seminars, to really identify what I was and wasn't doing, and what my team was and wasn't doing. It would help you focus.
And it's amazing, because in preparing for our presentation, I'm going through the diagnostic test and looking at it, and even to this day, I look at it and say, I could be better at that. I'm doing some things really good, but I've dropped the ball in some other areas. And if you don't have something that points it out for you like this, there's no way to prove, and one of the great things about the diagnostic test, I don't want anyone to get nervous about it when you take it, the worse you do, the better, because that means you're going to have a lot of room for improvement on here. And it's not just you, it's the teammates too, right, Dennis? That's one of the things we measure.
Both sides of it. It's all a team effort. And of course, the team is always led by their captain or the CEO of the company, which is your company. So of course, you're leading by example. So it all begins with you, and that will go down through the ranks as you continue to be consistent, as Jim has pointed out so eloquently, my friend.
Well, let's look at where we can find this diagnostic test, because to do it, you got to know where to find it. And one of the first areas is going right to what we've been talking about, which is Master UFO. And if you go to the Master UFO page and you scroll down to the bottom of the page, you're going to see a link right there. It says Basic 5 Diagnostic Efficiency Assessment. Now, to become a Master UFO, you have to earn either $900 in commissions for the quarter, or you have to take the Basic 5 Diagnostic test. So if you have not taken that test, and again, our goal is for everybody who's been with us for these 7 weeks so far, and we only have 4 weeks left, Dennis, to get people into the Master UFO for this quarter. We want you to take this ahead of time so that it starts to get you thinking about what might need to be done in these next 4 weeks to really get you there. So you can click that link, take it right away. That'll take care of one of your requirements again. in your basic, or excuse me, in your master UFO page in your unfranchised.com back office to be able to do that under reports. Now, you can also find it if you go to help and training and you go to support materials, excuse me, support materials, and you just type in diagnostic test or basic 5 diagnostic, and it'll pop up. And this is where you can download it, you can print it off, you can use it in corings, you can use it with your team. So the one that's on the Master UFO, the link is the one you need to do to be able to achieve Master UFO. The printed version is one for you just to be able to study, to look at, and to work with your team with that. And what we're going to do is now we're going to take you and sort of show you what these look like. Now, this is in a Word document form. The one we have downloaded is much prettier than what I'm showing you now, but we want to be able to show you the questions that are on here. And really what you do is you rank yourself. And that ranking could be a 0. I don't even know what you're talking about when you're mentioning, you know, the unfranchised marketing app. It could be a 1. I seldom use it, you know, rarely. 2 could be occasionally. 3 could be often, but not consistently. And of course, what we're really going for eventually is to get to 4, which is we do it consistently or we've mastered it. And the basic 5 starts off with attitude and knowledge. Dennis, did you have a couple items on here you wanted to point out to people?
Sure. In fact, every one of them is important, but I'm going to pick out one of the newer ones based on our advancement in technology. And that is all about taking our new digital unfranchised owner magazine. And while you review it, remember, these are articles that, number one, you can share with your team, just talking about them in an article that you may present, or you can use product pages and send them to your clients, knowing that anytime they would click on a product, it would take them back to your shop.com site so they can read about it and purchase the product. I thought that was an instrumental part of what we need to do to keep our attitude and knowledge growing. And also remember the content that's important, that your unfranchised news, your magazines should be sent out to your team. You can't assume that your team reads everything like you.
I love that. And, you know, so if I were taking this right now, I would look and say, okay, how often do I do that? How often do I go through it? How often do I send it out possibly? You know, I know a lot of people get the unfranchised news emails and they never look beyond maybe the top title, where you need to click in and it's a full, huge document of things to look at. So you might say, well, seldom. So you'd give yourself a 1 or 2 occasionally. I know it's amazing. A lot of times I'll get calls from people, Dennis, and I know you get this too. Somebody in the field will call and they'll ask a question, and I'll say, that was just in your unfranchised news last week. And they'll say, no, it was. I'll say, yeah, it was. Because I keep all of them and I'll send it to them again. And then they'll open and say, oh, I didn't read that. And I'll say, well, next time, check all your things before you call so that you can do that. Because that's being a professional. And, you know, I learned this a long time ago. You don't make a call to someone else if it's there in front of you to be able to look at. Because you want to teach your team that way too, right? You want to teach them to be independent and look for it. And if they can't find it, get a hold of you. And I love the Getting Started guide. It's always been, you know, one of the things that I've believed is a difference maker in success for new people. And you would rank yourself on 1, do I review it with my new partners? Do I go through it with them? Do I never even mention it? I know for me, I could give myself a 4 on this. On the Getting Started guide, if I bring somebody in new, I review it beforehand. I review it when we start. I am making sure I'm trying to give them the best chance to get started. So that's one area you might look and say, man, I could really improve on that.
Amen. I think that's huge in the sense that you have recognized the importance of that document. I like coming right back and talking about the auto ship, because so many people, you know, you said this the other master class, and what you like to do with your auto ship. You like to set it so that these are products that we use or we are constantly going through. So you don't have to make changes. And a lot of people look at it as, oh, these are products that I want to try, or these are products that I want to switch up. Ladies and gentlemen, the auto ship is probably one of the best administrative tools that we have to ensure that you'll get your accrual and also ensure that you'll remain active in the business. It also puts us in a position where if you choose, or if your sponsor chooses to elect you to place volume, you have to be on auto ship to be able to receive placed volume. Also, I don't know if you'll agree with me, Jim, if you're not on auto ship, are you really in the business? Because are you using the products, or are you putting the products on there, which is fine, that you sell? I mean, that's fine too. But to not be on auto ship, I mean, and this is, I blast it. It's so very important, because that's the one thing that everyone can do and really take advantage of what it offers for us. So take the time to express to your team, as well as making sure yourself, that you're going in there and building out your auto ship so that it is some things that you're using personally or that you're selling on a monthly basis.
I agree 100%, Dennis, with what you just said, and would go as far to say is that I don't even like to work with people who are not on auto ship. And if you're not, I'm sorry you're hearing this, but to me, you just have not made the commitment I want if I'm going to invest a lot of time into somebody.
Exactly.
Because I know you're not going to duplicate it correctly, because you're going to let someone else not do it. And suddenly you have an entire organization of people who aren't doing it right. And then, they don't get their monthly amount into accrue, and it becomes a challenge. So I agree with you 100% on that. And a simple thing to take care of, by the way, team. The last thing on this, Dennis, I'm a huge unfranchised media app person. I'm a big believer in positive things going in. That in our business, it's a continual learning business, and we need to be feeding our mind. And on here, it asks, are you listening to that app 30 minutes a day? And again, you would have to rate yourself right now and say, okay, do I do that? Seldom, occasionally. I know for me, when I am in full force, I am consistently listening 30 minutes a day. When all of a sudden I notice that I'm not building as hard personally, or I'm not doing some of the correct things, I'd probably go down to an occasionally, because you can't not do the right things when you're listening to the right things.
Man, I so agree with that. It's constantly feeding your mind. This also goes with the belief side of it, and the enlightenment side of it, the empowerment side of this business, everything that we want as an entrepreneur. It's just so powerful. And I do want to mention, every one of these things are super important. And there's a reason why they're on here, team. And remember that.
Yeah, we could take, as I said, it used to be about an 18-hour training on this, and we're going to do it, in a little bit under an hour. So we're just picking a couple. Dennis, when we move to the second part of the basic five, goals and goal statement, I've found over the years, this is an area that people sometimes will do well on what they want, but they don't know what their team wants. And I know you have always been really strong on finding out what people want, and then using that to help them achieve that, or to push them to achieve that. So what would be one of your favorite things under goals and goal statement?
Well, you hit that one right on the head with me, is short-term, intermediate, and long-term goals, in understanding what people want and what in their mind is the timeline that they're working with. Short-term can be 3 months or a year. Intermediate could be a year to 3 years. Long-term could be 5 to 10 years. These are the things that help me help craft the right action plan based on their time, based on the timeline, and exactly what they want, because we're in the business of helping people get what they want. So this is important to spend time with and express. If someone is pushing out a goal that does not seem reasonable, it's not saying you can't do it. It's saying, like, for this to happen, everything will need to fall into place. And you have to be also very clear, you can't give me 6 hours a week and expect to get this outcome. Okay, I'll need more. Okay, again, these are all things that defining these short-term, intermediate, and long-term goals will help you best support that unfranchised owner.
I love that, because that comes down to coaching that new person. And if you don't know what their goals are, you can't coach. And if their goals are unrealistic, and sometimes people do that, you know, they're making $30,000 a year and they working full time, and they say, I want to make $100,000 a year, but I only want to work 3 hours a week. I'll flat out tell them, I'll say, you know, I want you to hit every goal you ever set. But to do that, you're going to have to put the time into it. It doesn't happen doing nothing. And I need you to understand that, because I don't want you to have unrealistic expectations of what we're going to be doing in the business. The other thing I love, Dennis, and it's something, again, we used to do all the time on the Moving Up Center, was take, what is your goal? Like, what do you want? And then break it into an income center. So if you want a new car, well, that means what? Maybe you need $600 a month in payments or something like that, or even more. But let's use $600 a month. Well, if I need $600 a month, I would look at my business development center and say, okay, if I need 600, I need 24 and 24 on the left and right, because that's going to get me a $300 check, and a $300 check, that's $600 a month. How do I build that out? How many people am I going to need producing how much volume to get that? And it really gets you thinking. And you know, I will always remember, this is when we had the Utopia 1. You remember that boat, I'm sure. We have Utopia 4 now, and Utopia 1 was a beautiful boat, much smaller, but sitting on it, and JR, I love the boat. And he goes, well, why don't you get one? And I said, what? And he said, Jim, all you got to do is find out what it costs and break it out into how many centers you would need to take care of it. And it's the way his mind worked on anything somebody wanted. How much do you need to do by breaking it into the centers to be able to do that?
Bingo, man. I love that. Oh my gosh. Well, you know, when you start getting it, and now remember that every business development center has the potential of getting to $3,600 a week. But I think from a conservative standpoint, I'd like to use $1,500 a week. And then when you get that bonus, the management bonus and the IBV commission, they're just added on top of that. You know, there's a lot of great things, team, that we're sharing here tonight on how to view, and these questions that are being asked in each of these areas that we're going over tonight are thought provocative for yourself and your team. So literally you can do corings, taking each of these segments and going through these questions with it. The other thing that I would really want to push here is that once we get that done, I'd like to make sure in the action plan that people are booking that home or Zoom product presentation, or that home or Zoom business presentation with their newly sponsored individuals. This is an opportunity to go through their top 10 list. This is an opportunity to help them go through their names list with them. It gives you every opportunity, but it all comes down, Jim, to scheduling. And for the life of me, I don't know why people are afraid of scheduling to make this business work for them.
You know, I think one of the areas for everybody listening, if you want to be better, if you could set a more consistent schedule for how you do things, you'd probably be a lot better. I know, you know, this morning when we were talking with someone, they said, you know, I made a decision. I'm going to do a call or a text workshop this time every week. I'm going to host a business building event of some kind every Thursday night at 8 o'clock. When she laid out what she was going to do and when she was going to do it, then it was just filling it in. And to me, that's part of your goals. What am I going to do? What's my priorities? What's my to-do list? But what Dennis is saying is set up your time so you then fill in what you're going to work on at that time.
Exactly.
Makes a very, very big difference. Well, I know, Dennis, one of our favorites is retailing. You and I People probably get tired of how much we talk about it, but it is the lifeblood of every single thing we do in this business. And I know you probably picked out one or two things on here you'd like to discuss with everyone. And, you know, Des, I want to remind everyone when we're talking about this, like when we talk about, as on the previous page, whether you know how to build, use the business with how much income you want to make. So you got to write down, do I know how to do that? Do I do that? Or do I never do that? You know, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. Because I know for me, that's the way my mind is geared now. I want more money. What do I need to do? How fast? But if you're hearing this for the first time, that's where you're going to say, okay, I didn't know that. If you have a 0 or 1, great. Now you're going to start thinking that way. And the same thing as we go into retailing.
You know, Jim, I want to apologize because I was thinking ahead of time. I was talking about creating an action plan, and I jumped right into, come on, people, get this scheduled, you know. But then it flips right over into the retailing side,
Yep.
too, you know. So it's not a total faux pas, but you can see how there's a method to the madness of everything that we do here. I just have to smile. You know, sometimes, I don't know if you've ever done this where your mind gets ahead of your lips and what you're saying.
Way too much.
Pull that one back. All right, buddy. Let's talk about retailing.
You know, one of the things that I love right now is getting new customers. And I've over the years have built a big retail base. My team is a big retailing team, but I've just got a love of our products and now a love of tracking how many new customers can we develop. And I'll tell you, that's one of those things in retailing. Sometimes we get complacent. We have our 10 to 15 or 20 good customers. They're ordering every month. They're ordering every other month. And I really got to say, set a goal. Look at it with your retailing. Am I adding new customers? Am I reaching out to new people to be able to do that? And rank yourself on how you're doing with that right now.
Big time. And you know, the one thing that I love, which is so simple, is this home shopping list. If you haven't got a package of them, please get one.
Me too.
We have them in Chinese, Spanish, we have them in French, we have them in English. There's no reason why you can't take this beautiful single sheet with old-fashioned carbon paper and hand it over to somebody and say, check off all the different products you use in your household. And if you can't sell at least one product after they lift the page and basically see all the brands, my goodness, then we're not following through with things. Right now, also that'll help you out is the general product trainings. This goes back and, you know, and this is one of the questions, specializing in a product specifically, and know the features and the benefits and so forth, what tools and how you're going to merchandise it. That type of preparation, along with these tools, just fits so nicely in making that retail happen, which is so important in driving BV and cash flow.
I love that home shopping list, and use it for more than just when I'm trying to retail. I'll use that when I'm prospecting, qualifying, and I'm always trying to move products into that. That is a great tip, Dennis. You know, tomorrow is June 1st, Steve, and that means that Canada tomorrow will have the unfranchised marketing app. And I know we've got our guy Andrew Chi on. We like to call him AC. I know he's already getting that already, but I think we all need to take time to learn how to implement the trial size marketing app and how we can use that to the best way. And we've done a couple segments. I know we're going to have another one coming up soon that we're going to book, but it's a great way for people to be able to use trial size marketing to send things out. You can send them out when you place orders. I just had a customer, Dennis, he bought a box of daily essentials, and I got 2 goals with him that fall under this. One is I'm going to call him about going on auto ship, which is one of the things on here. To me, that's a no-brainer. I'll give him a 5% discount if he goes on auto ship. Order 2 boxes at a time, order every 60 days. Easy for me. I don't have to think about it. But the other is I sent him a sleep sample. And you know what I love, Dennis? I got a little lazy and I didn't do my follow-up, but I got the text saying he opened up the information on the sleep sample, which caused me to then reach out to help expand share a customer.
Oh, that's great. It's not the cure all be all, but I will say this, that unfranchised marketing app is the best. I mean, since I have been in the industry, this has been probably the best tool that has ever been placed in my hands. And this whole concept of the options that they have is just so good. We have to get back on and do another training live for the field so that we can help all the markets and talk specifically to that. The other thing that I will say that's important, and I'm not very good at it, but I do have teammates that are, and that's introducing our preferred customers to our shop.com sites, to our favorite stores, and also how to find our branded products if I'm not available. And during that process, whether you search by in-store pickup, cashback, free shipping, that's all broken down. And you've got to remember too, to introduce your customers to shop local. If you are in the United States and you are not introducing your teams to shop local, your customers, then they're not able to support the local economy, the local stores. And this is a great time to be able to sell Shop Buddy. And a lot of us, whether it's our attitudes or whether we don't want to take the time, you should, because people want to help you, but they're going to need some direction. Even if you go to your favorite store, it might be raise.com. Take them there and show them why you go there. Okay, these are really important things that you can use as a team. And I think it's important to build share of customer too.
I agree so much. We could probably talk retailing until tomorrow morning. Let's move on to prospecting, qualifying, and sponsoring. And if you don't mind, Dennis, I'm going to start right off with my thing. It's a names list. It's redo it. We have 4 weeks left to sponsor someone for Master UFO. Redo it tonight. Stay up late, and then tomorrow start calling. Because the only thing that's stopping you from sponsoring someone, I'm going to tell you this, is the calls you make to people to share this. That's it. The plan flat out works when you get it in front of enough people.
Bingo. That's it. You never have enough names either. And make sure that those names and numbers and email addresses are still intact. Okay. So do yourself a favor, work off the list. Sure, you can be out and about and meet somebody, but it's better to say hello at that time and put their name on the list and get back to them, whether instead of just jumping in the water fountain routine and say, oh, let me tell you about what I'm doing. That may not be the best place, that you want to take time to do that. But I'm going to come right back, and you need a compelling story, the 2-minute commercial. I just think if you've done any self-improvement for yourself, you will have learned about the importance of being able to tell a story, and specifically your story. And what you're doing with that 2-minute commercial is you are telling the compelling story as to why you're doing and why you believe in what you're doing and why you want to share it with someone. And that literally can open up the door so that they actually hear what you have to say, which is so very important.
It really is, because that's what attracts people to you. And, right with that, again, towards the top of our list here is being able to answer what is it. And I know we talked about this during the qualifying, sponsoring exercises we were doing, prospecting, qualifying, sponsoring, but you need to feel comfortable, and you also need to really get to a point of understanding that even if you don't say it right, what you want to say, as long as you say it with confidence, you smile, and you get that person to ask you another question, you're starting a conversation. It's not one. I used to think when I was new, I thought if I learned how to say it in one way, everybody would be like, that sounds wonderful. I want to do this too. That's not how it works. It would be great. But what I want to do is get them into a conversation. to talk more about that. And if you answer something 6 or 7 times and somebody doesn't ask you a question, you probably need to change your what is it a little bit. And Brian, I think you wrote down, don't ramble, and I agree. Less is more when you're talking to people. So important.
Yeah, I cannot disagree one bit with that. And there's always people say, well, what's it? However it's positioned, it's based on where you are in the conversation. So don't worry about us talking about what is it. It could be what is an unfranchised business, what is marketamericashop.com, what is product brokerage, that kind of thing. And so don't be so, canned in what you say that you don't have the versatility to answer the question of the person, that they're asking as to what it is. So yeah, very, very important on that. One of the things that I would also like to recommend is that we get better at conducting regular evaluations or showing the plan. But I'm going to give you some old school here. The person that shows the plan is usually the person that makes the most money. I also want to let you know that, in doing the evaluations, we used to have challenges, so the consistency of bringing guests. And when we were always in person, I would find people that were guests, but they were not the likely guests that you would normally want to see at the meeting. And so I'd ask one of my franchise owner, I said, tell me a little bit about your guest. And it says, well, this is John. I gave him $5 to come to the meeting. And so he's here.
Not the way we do it, people.
So, there was a time when people would do whatever they had to do to get a person in front of it. But I want to tell you, you can call literally anyone. And if you're not selling, just say, hey, Jim, I need your help. I promised that I was going to show an evaluation to my business, and I've not done so. I really could use your help. Can I get 45 minutes of your time? You may or may not be interested, but you may know someone. But either way, I'd appreciate you just helping me out. You're very rarely going to say no to you. They're going to do it as a favor.
That's so true and so good, Dennis. And that's when Jared really started going back and talking about getting people to evaluate it, to learn and implement that no decision close. I thought it was brilliant because, what stops most people, including myself at times, is when you're scared to talk to somebody because you're worried they're gonna tell you no. Well, you're not worried if they're evaluating it because all you're looking for is them to look at it and possibly lead to people, guys. And I remember as clear as day one time in a training, JR saying, stop looking at the person you're talking to and look at the people they know, because that's really what you're trying to get to is nice. Who do they know? And that's where the evaluation approach is so important.
That's powerful, Jim. Totally. That's a big keeper right there. Oh, yeah, it is part of the diagnostic too.
It is. And it's, guys, this is all there. So you're thinking, okay, how much am I doing it? How much am I doing these things? And you're ranking yourself. Then again, remember, I'm going to go back to you ranking your team as well. How much are they doing it? The last part of the diagnostic test goes to follow up in the ABC pattern. And I think we all know all the work you do doesn't matter if you don't do any follow-up along with it, right, Dennis? I mean, it just, I think so many great unfranchised owners and customers have been lost because people didn't follow up when they should have. What would be a favorite part of your follow-up on the diagnostic test?
Well, the one thing that I would talk to directly here is, of course, going into an appointment, being able to know when I could schedule the next appointment. So scheduling the next appointment and what is your percentage of getting that appointment. I think that is a huge number. I think if you get 1 out of every 2, I think you're doing great. Getting in the game to follow up. If you're getting better than that, that's awesome. If you're getting 1 out of 3, that's still okay. Because now you know that usually if you get 4 people in process, you're going to get 1 of them. And you may get a second one of those over time. So I just feel very strongly that scheduling the follow-up appointments are critical based on your scheduling. Now, I do want to say one thing. Don't change your life around to accommodate the person that you're speaking to. It's okay if you book it out a little further. So many of us change our world to meet the person that can follow up. Make sure it works on both behalves, because you don't want to be too available, but at the same time, you want to accommodate. So you might want to check scheduling a little bit further, but getting that second appointment, Jim, is just huge.
To totally agree. And it's a great point about not changing your whole world to do it too. We want you to be urgent, but we don't want you to be desperate. There's a difference in the way you do things. And one of the things I would recommend from follow-up, one of my top things, is sending out that digital education and credibility presentation video. Dennis, I have found so many times when I'm talking to somebody and they're saying, well, I'm talking to people, but I'm losing them between part 1 and part 2, or I'm losing them after part 2. And I'm sending, my first question is, are you sending that video out? And the answer is always, well, no, I wasn't doing that. And I said, guys, they're Googling, they're seeing something negative, and you've given them no defense. So they're saying, maybe it's not for me. There's something out there I don't like. Send that video and explain how companies try to use our name to lead people to their companies or to their products. By doing that, once people understand it, it all makes a lot more sense, and it's done so professionally. And it's got a lot of our awards we have in there, and the great things we've done as a company.
It's big to remember that everybody will have access very quickly to that on your unfranchised marketing app, but you're going to have to put in the name of your contact along with a mobile number, as well as an email address, if you can do that. And it won't take but a minute to follow up. And it will also be a great way for you to continue to follow up with product information and other profiles, or you can record your own videos to send out.
Yeah.
So that's big. I love that. Can we talk about one thing that just bothers me when people finally get somebody who says, all right, I'm going to register my business, but they try to get it done in 20 minutes, 30 minutes. God, team, it takes 2 or 3 hours to do this right. It might take 2 or 3 appointments to do this. So please don't just put them on paper, because there's so much more. If you really want the success of your new partner, take the time to show them exactly what has to be done, and don't be afraid to do that.
I love that. You and I think there's times you and I, we're on calls and we get corporately, people get surprised how mad we get that we don't want it to be a quick process. We want it to be, you're learning how to do this right. You're the coach. This is a real business which pays real money. Don't treat it like a sign them up, hope it works type things. That's not what we do. And I think we get frustrated because for Dennis and I, it's like owning a franchise. And if a franchise fails, it makes the corporate company look bad. We don't want anyone to fail, and they're not going to fail if you do it the right way with them and you give them the information and you set them up for success.
Amen. Agreed. Those are the 2 biggest areas that I picked out for tonight for me on follow-up.
I love it. And there's so many good ones in here, team. But what you do after going through this is now you add up your points. You can see how they'll be broken down by the areas, see what you come out at. Now, what we want you to do is to take this again. So do it right away and then take it again and then do it with your team. Rank your team. Say, how do I think my team does on this? One of the things that I've found over the years is when you're a new up and coming leader, a lot of times you feel like you're doing everything. You have to learn to offload and get the teammates doing the same thing. If you don't, you will burn out. And this gives you a great idea of how you really feel about your team. Are they doing it yet? If not, you may need more corings, more time, more training to be able to do those things. From a homework standpoint, going into this next week, personally take that basic 5 diagnostic test and keep the score for yourself. How did I do? How did my team do? take it again when we finish our 12 weeks. I know that's only 5 weeks from now, but let's see how much we can improve in 5 weeks. You know, one of the things Dennis and I talked about was holding a coring, a live or a virtual one, and go through with your teammate or get together with some people and talk to them about how to use this diagnostic test. A lot of people have never taken this, which, you know, to me, I grew up on it. This is what we took on a regular basis. You had to fill it out before you went to the Moving Up seminar to make sure you had it done. And lastly, redo your names list. We're going into this last 5 weeks. Let's get this ready to go to finish strong in the master class with what we're doing. And Dennis, you know, we're moving into next week. Do you want to talk about what we'll be talking about in week 8?
Yeah, it's going to be an exciting week 8. We're going to talk about ways to tweak your performance. I mean, troubleshooting when you're not getting the outcomes that you're looking for. We're going to talk about what we can do to make those adjustments. And what are the things that would indicate that we may not be doing things quite right to get the response we're looking for? We're also going to be spending time talking about conversational marketing, how to get people to actually bring out the information you're looking for. The more conversations that you can have with an individual and the more they can talk, the more they're going to tell you exactly what they want. I'm looking forward to next week. It's going to be a fun week and it's going to help quite a few people. Because you know what I learned, Jim? I learned that the majority owned franchise owners are pretty smart, good business people. And it's just that little bit of tweaking needed to bring it across the finish line. So I think next week is going to be a fun week for us.
Yeah, I agree 100%. And they're just good people. So we're excited to spend another week with you next Monday. Happy Memorial Day, everybody. And Dennis, happy birthday weekend. Thanks for spending some time with us on that. We love you guys, and we really appreciate you taking the time and effort. We see the people who are on each week. We see the people who are turning in the homework. Thank you, Donna, for always sending that to us. And we're really here to get you to that next level of success. Have a great night.
Thank you.